InShalla and Ashe. I tried a new hair product today and didn't quite do what I was hoping. But anyway, here we are. Blessings to you, my energetic beings. There we go. So yeah, being that we are in the season of Aquarius, super excited about that. And Mars has made its way into Capricorn, enforcing our actions that we created, hopefully through our heart space in all integrity. But if the frequencies that you meet today, they might feel a little wonky, weeble wobbly, just be sure to take a breath and take a pause. Put your left hand on your heart and really center yourself. Be heart-centric. This is actually one of my very favorite energies. I actually have a few of my planets at this magical essence, being in it and not of it and not in it. So really taking a breath and a pause, being in a space of neutrality is a theme in the thread lines. But it's January 24th. It's the magic of Monday, and I'm a little snarling it today. But welcome to today's Daily Snippet. I am your host once again. I'm a practicing holistic medium and subtle energetic surgeon, merging both the indigenous technologies, the spirit of Africa, with the subtle energies, the elemental realms, beings, and the imaginal pathways, basically, throwing in some other juice there as well, of course. I offer rituals, prescriptions, and really just offerings to add all of the juice in your personal container. But my intention really is to merge these indigenous methodologies and technologies with the subtle realms to assist you into navigating your prime directive, really just opening the door to reintroduce yourself to and through the being that really resides within you. My name is Tanya D, and welcome to my virtual medicine room. If you're interested in a card for your day, simply like, comment, and share my show. Helping me really also helps you as well. But the cards for the day and the energy of the day, so really this is an otherworldly day, so I'm actually going to go with the realm of the fairies. My otherworldly friends, or should I just say my really friends, my good friends. But first up, we have in the corridor, which I'm super excited about, is the Topsy-Turvets. And the juicy part about this card, they're actually part of the what's called the helpline troop, the little people, the wee people of the other realms. They're large, they're small, they come in a variety of shapes and ways and forms. But sometimes they assist us in our day-to-day reality. They're associated with all of the elements and also with the essence of the moonbeams as well. And also, I think, the planetary cosmos. So just as a reminder, these little energetic beings from this dimension, they will meet us anywhere and everywhere. They prefer to play out in the world of nature and practice our own natural magic, if you will, being that they're kind of practical and sometimes they can be kind of topsy-turvy, but they're very wise and they're ancient, and they also live to be ancient. But the Turvets come to visit us when life is confusing, and nothing really draws them in quicker than the mental muddle that happens in our minds. They don't really cause this chaos. We kind of do that for ourselves quite naturally. However, that's what attracts them. They're like ants on the floor when there's food around. They just sense the frequency and the vibration, and they live everywhere in all of the realms, all of the dimensions. But the message here is that something needs to actually be looked at again, like changing the settings, the channel that we subscribe to, the otherworldly channel, that is, a shift in our viewpoint, a fresh new way of actually seeing things. So it's a suggestion that we might have been asking the wrong questions. That's where the confusion actually exists. And sometimes what we see and what we hear are really not in alignment. Kind of like the world at the current threads at the moment. What we see isn't in alignment with what we're hearing. Running into a brick wall with all of these kind of misconceptions or perceptions due to our assumptions that weren't correct in the first place. So other people kind of their muddle could be involved in that viewpoint. So this is the shoulds and the oughts. And they're asking us to let go of our attachments to our own point of view and looking at things as they really are instead of how someone might think that they should be, if that makes sense. But it's also a warning of some kind of imagery that keeps involved within the issue at hand. They themselves are mentally upside or down or even sideways. So it's a suggestion that things need to be looked at from a totally different angle or viewpoint, that we might need to back off from our emotional entanglements and really look with new eyes. Apparently, it's saying that the confusion about the issue was caused by a faulty point of view. So maybe we look to see literally with new eyes, new eyeglasses, if you will, the eyes of the other world through the eyes of God herself, universe, the goddess universe. So this defensiveness and the denial may be causing a lot of the difficulty. So just try imagining that you are looking at the situation from the point of view of each and everyone involved, literally through the eye of God. And just knowing that this card is always otherworldly, meaning it's always reversed, even when it's turned sideways in the layout, which is actually worse. It's the confusion. But this card turns up whenever another viewpoint doesn't really open the door for us. So it's time to really take a pause and listen to the hints from these little turvettes themselves in the multiverse, because they're the experts in the field of seeing through new eyes, seeing through the eyes of God or the otherworldly beings, or just coming in through the places that they dwell out in nature and the magic. That's why they love the nature. And then we have the singers, which I love. I really just love the singers, but just saying that out loud, the singers of healing. The singers are the great ones. Their wings span, which I actually just talked about this the other day, they span the multiverses and all the dimensions and all of the realms. Their names are many, and it really doesn't matter what we call them. They just really wish that we would all call upon them, like literally opening the gates to them. But they are the singers of the underlying song of the universe, the galactic grid. Not just us, but also to the other dimensions and realms. They are the great ones. I would call them the watchers, the ones who show us what we have the potential to ultimately become. What we be is what comes. They help us to move into that direction. They comfort us when we fall off of our path. They're constantly with us. And their energy and their compassion are really always available. Like, of all the things to be kind. And all we have to do is really ask for their help. Then just really be aware of the events or insights about the request, the signs and the meta symbols that generally come in. So being that the singer of healing is found in our session today, in our live, we need to acknowledge the presence of this healing singer in our day-to-day life, asking for help, the help that she can give us, and be open to the guidance, the flow of it. Just be receptive to the power, really, the energy of it, and the energy that it really has to offer us in our day-to-day. And also when we finish, also, always expressing gratitude, the attitude of gratitude, being thankful. And then we just open ourselves through prayer, invocations, meditation, love, even the singers. They're going to allow their essence to flow. And what happened, the last time that you really called in another worldly being for insight or healing or guidance, There's a lot more about each of these singers. So if you think about the times that they have been actively present in your space and what happened then when you invoked them or called them in. Sometimes the singers act in our life, in our story, very softly, and other times the presence is almost kind of palpable. It's almost flowing. It could be really intense, but it's also very clear. So feeling the strength within us, oftentimes something that really enables us to carry on through those threads when we've got a lot of adversity or challenges and difficulties. We might see them as miracles, large or small. We could see them happen to us or even for others. However we experience the these singers, these otherworldly beings. Sometimes people often reject their aid also, but they're always beside us, next to us, comforting us. In fact, they're within us as well. They're just part of our essence. They're part of our being. They're part of the galactic universe, part of it all. So when we are assisted by the singers, we don't always get what we expect. Sometimes what we receive just might be the unexpected, which I find curious because we're in the season of Aquarius, and that kind of is the breakthrough to the breakdown, and expecting the unexpected, the innovative, the ahas, the epiphanies. But whatever that looks like for each and every one of us, it's always what we actually need at the moment. So this is where trusting the process really comes in. That's a major galactic step in the evolution of our individual stories. But the singers are the givers of grace. They are the kind of like these ministering, orchestrated angels, Greek gods, goddesses, the many faces of unity. So the songs of the singers and the power of healing, the song of the singer, really, this singer has very deep healing, the healing of our deep wounds of our spirit, wounds that can destroy mortals or immortals alike, otherworldlies. It's faith betrayed, love dishonored, trust abandoned, and just other injuries of our spirit, and all of these inflicted serious wounds, which are reflected generally in our bodies, in illness and injury. So it's through this song of healing, that's where we can be restored, renewed, recalibrated, but only if the wounded one is prepared to forgive and also to let go, turning to love and compassion. I would say happiness, joy, peace, my other virtues. But as always, with all of the gifts of spirit, healing is offered. It's never forced, but it requires active participation on our part. So true healing takes place on all levels at the same time, simultaneously, body, mind, spirit, and I always like to throw in soul, because these levels of they're all entangled. They're really impossible to separate. They're linked. They're all in one space and piece. So we cannot expect change to happen to just one without actually changing the others. And our bodies do not do things all on their own. So the links between different aspects of being are so many. They're complex, but they're also obscure. But it's kind of the basic principle of healing them, really, is it's simple in itself, but we only need to let go of the things that are truly hurting us and nurture ourselves with the things that are really benefiting us, right? How often do we just let go? No, but it really is simple, but it oftentimes seems so very difficult and challenging. So the song of healing is present everywhere. And like the other aspects of the great song of ecstasis, it's another otherworldly song. It's without limit. It's the oneness. It's vast. So healing can seem so complex as we dig through our way through all of our blocks and our resistance to really hang on to that old stuff. But ultimately, in the end, simply letting go and opening up, it's just great to learn, everything we can from a village, from the others, the wisdom. There really is a lot of great information out there, but just keep the essentials of it simple and, allow our mind to process so we won't go too far out on the other side of the container, two sides of the coin. But this really truly is the healer's card. So its presence might speak of healing to be given or healing to be received, two sides of the same coin. So it's the circumstances in the process of reaching well-being that might seem easy and bring great challenges, either or. But it doesn't really matter in either case. We're asked to kind of participate in our own healing as we're strengthened by the energy of the singer of healing. And more often, usually, the singer speaks about giving and receiving, because we cannot truly and freely give without receiving as well. It's like the push and the pull of the wheel of a bike, really. So healing is something that really flows through us, not from us. Like we are inevitably really affected by this flow, this passage of it. So drawing this card tells us of both the need and an opportunity for healing ourselves, and possibly perhaps others as well around us. So healing, again, is not something we do. It's something that we are. We are already healed, actually, in our essence. So yeah, that's a great card for today and all this stuff going on. Then I have, this is the fairies who were kissed by the pixies. They're part of the She. This is just a magical card. But the She are the peoples of the hills, the lords and the ladies of the realms. They are the old ones. And these little energetic beings, they love to dance, but they do it to bring in the energy of the singers to manifest into this world. So this is like a message that the pixies are dancing to bring in the healing to each and every one of us through the dance from the singer's realm, basically, to manifest into our dimension. And I think we for sure need some healing threads. But they're the ones who create, they nurture, they build the worlds. They're available to each and every one of us. Generally, they come in as guardians, which I love. They create miracles as well. But they each have their own individual magical power, and they act through different aspects of life. But when we use these powers, hopefully we use them appropriately. We're compassionate with them. Some people misuse them, and they fall in different categories: twisting, blocking, and negating. And the reason I bring that up is this card is otherworldly, meaning reversed, which I'll get to. But pixies, they kiss. They have little fluttery kisses. They're similar to chocolate, but they're not like chocolate. They're sweeter than that, I guess. They're bliss. They're just a whole lot sweeter. They don't do anything dreadful to our essence. And they say that there cannot be too much kissing in the realms of the fairies. So a fairy kiss is a blessing indeed. Freckles are fairy kisses. They also give those freckles. That's where they come through. So kind of pay attention when you feel a fairy touch your cheek or your lips. Pixie kisses, in fact, all fairy kisses really, they're to be noticed, they're to be savored, they're to be like enjoyed, right? So if you do notice, you're going to find yourself smiling without actually meaning to. You're going to feel a surge of warmth just swell in and through your heart and radiate out. But this particular fairy is called Mornay. She's the queen of love, all kinds of love. Brotherly, sisterly, friendly, unconditional, conditional, either or, and both. So she's kind of telling us that it takes perfect people to have a perfect love, but we, imperfect as we all are, we just might have a variety of loves. So for each one perfect for who we are and for what we need at that moment. So these loves may not feel perfect. They may not look perfect from the outside, but they just fit us in the now. So if we don't like them, then we need to actually shift and change ourselves. So a different kind of perfection fits into the piece of the puzzle. So here we see little Morna in her delight. She's in her role. She's actually a heart surgeon. She's using the power of love to assist us to really open up our galactic hearts, especially when we've closed them down more than often out of fear, just helping us to expand and become more of what we have to have all the potential, the unlimited potential to be. And yes, it's true. Having an open heart, being willing to love and also to be loved makes us very vulnerable to both loss and to grief. But Morna assures us that once a heart is truly and fully open, even the deepest grief becomes kind of bittersweet, like chocolate. There's no pain that is not balanced by the greater galactic joy of love, the oneness field. So the feeling of giving love is what makes us truly feel good. What keeps us from enjoying it fully is our desire to own others. I've witnessed this a lot of times in relationships, not just for myself, but for others. And to have them constantly prove our importance to them. Such proof is really impossible. However, this kind of conditional and self-limited love is part of how we learn about real love, authentic love. So if you ever hear yourself asking, do you love me? Or saying, I don't think you really love me, there's a message there, right? Then you really know that the love you are giving to the other is conditional and vice versa, and also limited. So Morna would really like to help us learn to love others without conditions. She also would like us to learn to love while still staying properly centered within ourselves, being heart-centric. So it really is important for us not to lose ourselves in others, when I almost said lovers, in others when we're in love, and let their desires become ours, because we then lose sight of what we need for our own personal fulfillment and our own joy in our lives. Again, I've seen that happen many times where I had a client, new relationship. She gave up her desire to travel because the relationship person didn't want to travel. So I see this happen all the time. And of course, the relationship ends. It's always the tragedy, but their learning is there, right? So in the long run, or maybe even in the not so very long run, basically, it never works out. We only think we know what others want anyway, right? And sooner or later it's disastrously wrong, usually by thinking we know what they ought to need. We're really learning about love in all of this. That's kind of the message here. And in the progress of learning it, we all act as teachers for each other as well. So it's the karma of relationships is actually the hardest there really is. I think that really is the message, believe it. And, it's true in a way, no matter what the relationship is. But for all that love in its purest sense is the fast track to our own self-realization and even our otherworldly enlightenment. But the wild thing at the base of this picture is filled with bliss, and he's longing to cuddle, and that really is the way to enlightenment. So just kind of remember that everything and everyone in the other realms, they really glow with their own light, and so do we. But a lot of our light, and that light is the glow of love. So the more you radiate, the more love you have. So remembering that is truly important. Just opening up our hearts more widely to the giving and the receiving of love really invokes this well-kissed fairy within each and every one of us. But again, being that this card is otherworldly, it's kind of a message that when we block love, obviously, we refuse to give or receive it. And interesting thing here is that love, it really is an energy. It's an aspect of the love force and the life force. So it flows through us whether we admit it or not, or are aware of it or not, really. So unhappy souls who refuse to acknowledge it still have it within them in their essence. It's been ignored, it's been denied, it's been shoved under the carpet. So another way that we block love is to become the kind of people pleaser in love who wants to do everything for others but won't let them give in return. So it's this kind of twisted energy of love that shows up. It could show up as jealousy, possessiveness, attention seeking, demanding behaviors. It's focused on getting rather than giving, and results in happiness or unhappiness rather than happiness. So it's based on this entirely false idea that there's not enough love in the world for everyone to have as much as they truly need. Love is a dicey kind of word in a way, but we all need it. It comes in a variety of forms. My love for Diddy, right? So another twist is believing that it's up to others to actually make us happy, when really this is our own responsibility to our own selves. Happiness is an inside job, and it radiates outside of us. But one of the worst things that we can do is really to deny love, to pretend we feel it when we don't, and to pretend we don't when we actually do. Again, two sides of the same coin. And another is to try to destroy love between others by any means or for any reason whatsoever. That's like being in love with somebody who's married and creating chaos in the relationship. That's what that looks like. And it's kind of the worst of all in some aspects, is taking advantage of the love of others to betray them. So fairies are both luminous and illuminating in both dimensions and time and space. I usually see little flickers of them. It's just a thing. Even when I was in Spoleto, Italy, in the forest there, saw some fairies. And I pulled this card just for fun. I found it humorous that I did. This is again, part of the helpline troop. It's in association with, again, the elemental realms and the moon herself, and I think all of the galactic universe planets. But it's the collective of pixies. So these pixies do what a pixie's got to do. And one of the things they do is they love to dance. So they're getting us in the flow. And this dance is what gets the earth moving. And it needs to be done. The reason they do it mostly is it reminds me of the springtime, where flowers are growing and fruits coming in. The grass is doing its thing. The trees are doing their thing. The roots are getting rooted. And just the other processes that happen through space and time, through the seasons, basically. But the pressure of their little energetic feet, their etheric feet, that might really be what really keeps the world turning at the galactic correct speed. That's kind of why they do this otherworldly. You can even see, I don't know if you can see, the light glistening off their fingertips in the image out into the galactic core. But that's what they do. I know physicists claim differently, but I'd rather believe in the fairy realm myself than the physicists. Maybe they're getting a download from them, but the pixies have really done this dance forever. They continue to do this dance as the other world has kept on turning, right? And so is ours. So it's in and out, flowing. So it's just kind of the dance that they do to keep, to keep everything going, really. So this is kind of what they do. They do this for fun. They're lighthearted when they do it. It really is part of their virtues in a sense of the potency of their energy and also to their actions. Otherwise, their feet would come down heavily, but they come down light. It could stunt the growth of all the things instead of enhancing where they might step too lightly, if you will. And then these things might grow the wrong way. They might grow sideways, inverted, stuff like that. So it could make the world turn wrong or upside wrong. And the pixies could treat their duty as something being boring or oppressive, but they really choose to take joy in doing all the things they do and doing it galactically juicy. So if you are feeling faced with duties, like the old saying goes, time flies by when you're doing something from the heart, and work, like the day is quick. That's what happened to me yesterday. And, we have a choice about anything and everything we do and how we do it. We can make it a game of it. We could do it happily and with joy. Or we can take on an attitude that makes it demanding and oppressive and boring. But we can choose to regard it even boring and dull if we decide. But when we choose the first attitude to do it from the heart, the results totally have a different feeling, a different energy, a different frequency than the results of the other two, if you will. So anyone and everything that comes in contact with the results of what we're creating really feels the difference. And they're affected differently by it, whether they're aware or not, or if they notice it or not. So here's another one of those places where we can make the world better or we can make the world worse and do the same to ourselves simultaneously, because everything's linked. So what is needed here is not only an awareness of whatever we're doing, but also the joy in the approach to doing it. So even if a job has to be done, we might as well do it willingly, and we might as well do it from a virtue that's love, joy, peace, and happiness, and just kind of progress through the dance, the maze, step by step, baby steps, lively and lightly, and just taking joy and feeling juicy in whatever it is we're creating, and just having the zing and the zest and the delight and maybe a little zaniness added as well. Otherwise, we might as well not even bother, most of the time, or almost most of the time. So there really is something about this lighthearted approach to whatever it is we're creating that's really important at this magical time in order to achieve the results that we want. Additionally, consider the words collective and cooperative as we make our plans and put things in action. So the situation may take more than one person, a collective, maybe several, just working together to achieve whatever our desired result, joining forces with others as kind of the message of this card to do the dance. So seek cooperation with your friends, family workers, co-workers, etc. Whatever that is. So that's kind of the message. I think it's time that we started to dance and get kissed by those fairies as well. And bring in the singers of healing, for crying out loud. And seeing things from another worldly view, right? New perspective. And then this kind of looked dreary. Really, in the elemental realm, we have 3 oxen for the day with our little yin fire day master. So this is a very yin day. It's our inner constitution. It's going inward. But all that oxen really feels like heavy earth. And our inner fire is dim. It doesn't have any support. There's not even any hidden fire hidden anywhere in the branches. So we really are going to have a breakdown to the breakthrough. We definitely are in need of nature. Absolutely. Nature being a blade of grass or an old wise tree, the wind, and really, so much more. The rootedness of a tree. So if you're born between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. as an ox, you are angry a lot of the time. You really resent the yoke around your neck and look at me with my necklace, and being set up to the plow, just walking up and down the rows and the ruts, just going back and forth and back and forth. Sure, because of the ox, seeds are being planted. There's a lot of new growth that's happening. But they, do they enjoy it? Not really. They're not finding the joy in it, kind of like the collective pixies. But they just go over to another row and start plowing again, up and down, back and forth. And in the process, they actually get angry. They're angry because they're stifled. They're angry at having to do the same monotonous thing every day, every year, in and out, year in and year out. So as an ox, you are born with so much creativity and so much potential. But here you are, plowing up and down those rows in the rut of life. And it's like, why won't your farmer let you go free to go out and enjoy the meadow and go enjoy life? Much like Ferdinand the Bull, if you remember Ferdinand the Bull. Now there was an animal who knew what was important in life. I laugh every time I think about Ferdinand the Bull, to sit in the meadow with the flowers and the blue sky and just envision what life could be. So the ox, the energy of the ox needs to be free and independent. So we have all this ox energy down here. So this freeness and this independence it's not moving, even though it's got hidden water down there. It really needs nature to break up all that earth, like to break it up so it can get in the flow. Because all the elements really can get into the flow. It's just how they do it and how we identify with it and what that looks like. But when we're held back and we're not able to live up to our potential, that's when we can develop, or ox more importantly, liver problems. One of them might come from drinking, but it also might come from anger, because you may be trapped in a go nowhere kind of job, career, which leads to cirrhosis of the liver. So the liver meridian also has this connection to our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. So then what happens is frustration, and a frustrated ox can have kind of refined motor problems and really not have the patience to do like the nitty gritty detailed work, especially if they're frustrated. They could also have vision problems, liver, because they symbolically have blinders on, because the ox feels stifled about what they're doing, and they kind of have an immaturity about them, simply because they haven't had a lot of life experiences. So their early childhood could have been sheltered, held in, where they no longer got to explore and do what other kids were doing. And their sugar is actually alcohol, and sugar is numbing. So you begin life with visions and dreams of what life held in store for you when you open that door. But if your dreams aren't realized, you then fall prey to addictions and compulsions in order to kind of compensate for this unexpressed aspect in your life. So when life doesn't live up to those expectations, that's when disappointment sets in. And disappointment can lead to eating more and more and more and more. And then this vicious cycle it's on repeat. So the more weight they put on, the less desirable they actually feel. And the more you stay home and you don't experience the joy or even the magic that life really has to offer, the more stagnant you feel, which is the lymphatic system. And the cycle keeps repeating itself, so it becomes harder. Stomach problems, part of the earth elemental realm, allergies. Um, Allergies are kind of a protection asset for the ox from the outside world. Uh, I want to say like suffocation in the subconscious. So at this point, they feel victimized by life itself. And they can draw in victims to really mirror, like a reflection of that shadow element of themselves. And that element's only going to reinforce those feelings. Or, you can, on the opposing side, become extremely like a perpetrator, just feeling justified at getting even for being treated how you were in the past. I've witnessed this as well from different oxen. Not this much ox energy though, by the way. I do know a few of those. However, sometimes what happens is this poor me kind of persona emerges, finding the perks in the victim role. So it can take over at some point where you can oftentimes seemingly be unable to get out of the rut and turn life around. So then intestinal problems can even occur, kind of withdrawing in. And that just kind of becomes your way of life, retreating from society, falling into a trap again, and, just justifying your beingness by embracing these highly moralistic judgments about more moderate or even open types in order for yourself to feel comfortable. Prostate problems occur in men, frigidity in women, cold hands, cold feet. This is water as well, right? The direction of water. And even it's problems with circulation. So for an ox to be healthy and just in their joy, the wealth is in our health, right? They need to throw over the track lines and lock their yoke and get out and really experience life, experience the joy. Sometimes it's going to be scary, but take it one step at a time, baby steps, because life really is to be lived, not endured. So as an ox energy itself, you need to know that you are a spirit of evolving, majestic, otherworldly joy in all that the adventure of life has to really offer, and not get caught up in the role of the victim mode. It's kind of two sides of the same coin. So you need to find fulfillment in living out your dreams. You dare to dream. We all dream as a child and children, but the ox needs to be responsible and see what this vicious cycle is operating at, and see also how they oftentimes create it, not blaming the outside world for what has happened, and just take responsibility. Pick up yourself and turn your life around. And then the ox energy is going to feel free to connect with others, to warm up to a more friendlier world. And even by interacting and even networking, this reminds me again of the Aquarian energy. That's Aquarius, is society, networking, social media, reconnecting with our dreams that were, possibly long forgotten, or we thought they weren't attainable. So with all this oxen energy, we really need to break on free to the other side, and just knowing where we do and do not belong in our own sacred story, being in it and of it and not in it simultaneously, literally flipping the switch. Something that might have appeared as common knowledge to self or to others, that might be the rug that actually gets pulled out from underneath us, riding that wave in the current threads. The breakthrough is where the magic is. The magic is when we realize where we no longer belong. So it's like the greatest aha moment ever. So, I no longer belong in a studio. And by that, I don't mean my home studio. I mean a studio that I'm renting, or I want to remodel. I haven't really figured that out yet. But I am opening my heart to a new vision for myself, just really cleaning out the cosmic closet and my personal, the physical. So it's a moment of our heart, whether it's an ache in the heart or a break in the heart, needs over wants, and being in a state of loving ourselves And what is that love? Is it unconditional, especially with the other world today? The kiss of the pixies, the dance, the collective of the pixies, the singer of healing, and even the topsy turvette. So there's so much coming from the essence of really loving ourselves first. We are usually our own worst critics. We are otherworldly hard on ourselves in ways that the other world is like scratching their head, maybe my fuzzy hair, that's why today. But, you know, as we have the breakdown to get us to the other side, that really is where the magical breakthrough is. So be kind to yourself, especially through this transition. And our triggers are generally one of two things I have found. It's either a growth period that needs to be acknowledged and validated. Growth can do that. Or a false belief that goes against our pure heart, our heart's authentic intentions. So we need our heart to be engaged in whatever she believes in. So, ask yourself, what do you believe? That's what our heart is asking. So are you living in contentment of your living style, or are you loving the living style that you're in? So do you need to add more love to your chalice? I'm doing that all day long. Support our own self-love. It's a day to kind of stand in front of the mirror, loving the skin that we're in, literally climbing back in it. And if you feel otherwise, add more love to your chalice. Love really is the essence of the oneness. If we can galactically stay there, right? It does, our mind gets in the way, the mental muddle. Now, the herb of the day I found curious. It's a flower essence of Aquarius, witch hazel. And I used to use and recommend Aveda products back in the village. Bought into that program. It was all juicy and great until corporate America brought them out. But witch hazel flower essence, that really connects Aquarian peeps with their own inner landscape. And being that we have a very yin day, this kind of grounds them in reality without smothering their Aquarian otherworldly visions and the insights and the ahas and the lightning strikes. But this flower essence is really appropriate for those who have gone too long without really connecting to and also expressing their inner selves. As the essence really helps them to navigate through anxiety or depression. That's kind of the Aquarian energy. So this might have emerged in and through you as a kind of a consequence, kind of a wake-up call. So if they've gotten caught up in a cycle of not feeling like they have achieved enough, especially when in comparison with others, comparing to others, which hazel really helps to evaluate our lives from a place of self-confidence, centeredness, rather than that vicious cycle of constant comparing ourselves to others. So it just brings them back into the balance of relationships that reflect, not judge, and really teaches from a power of oddness the beauty of how they dream of light in the dark of winter. So it really is magical, and we all have Aquarius somewhere in our chart. Mine happens to be in my house of service to others, so that might be where I embrace my oddness. But our crown center is online, our spiritual connector center. We really got a double dose of that, so it's like ching, 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 ching. We also have nature. We also have fire. Fire is also the realm of spirit. It's our ancestors. It's our dreams. It's the other world. And it really isn't too late to join me for Voices of the Other World. It literally this Saturday, we have the ancestors, we have dreams, we have visions, and so much more. That's going to come up on Saturday's immersion. So be sure to join me there if you feel called to navigate through that portal. But it's the ong sound, ong for the crown, and the shishing or the swishing of leaves in nature in the wind, or the heat in the ha of fire. It's a breathy ha. And as an affirmation, I would really say that I affirm that I am the light, because we need the love. I am the light that resides within me, heart-centered and filled with the essence of galactic love. So it's like this immersion of the other world coming into our world and just juicing up our heart so we glow like a fairy or an otherworldly being in my case. And anyway, InShalla and Ashe, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry I was late. Sometimes I get caught up in time, I guess, or I'm fluid, not quite sure. But thank you.